Hi everybody, my name is Crystal Rollins and I will be teaching you about the strategy learning logs. So what is a learning log? A learning log is a journal or a bunch of papers put together with your students' reflections, summaries, stuff they've learned. All this can be placed in clusters, graphs, diagrams, pictures, words, anything like that. So a journal, and they're creating, I have a simple composition book. Inside I wrote learning log and decorated it because you want this to be your student's reflection. And inside I left a blank page here. This blank page, you, the teacher, can create a table of contents or have your students create it. My topic is 4th grade science. So on my table of contents, I have my my numbering, scientific investigation and reasoning, matter, energy, force, motion and energy, earth and science, organisms and environment. The importance of this here is the page number. So if you want your students to go back on their information, they are able to just flip to the page and be like, oh, okay, she wants me to go to earth and science, and you go ahead and flip to that page. So that's the importance of that. So you can make this, or the student can make this and just glue that into there. All right, so let me just show you a few pages of a learning log. This is something I created. So on the side we have scientific investigation and reasoning. So that was the first number on there on the table of contents. And we have pictures, words. So the student is reflecting what they've learned in picture form and words. We have safety. So you can tell just by looking that they understand some of the steps here of safety in a lab. We have goggles, tennis shoes. This here says, sorry it's backwards, but no jumping, no running, please walk, a lab coat. One thing that I found really important to place on the questions, because questions that you want in here that are answered in your learning log come from you. You can write those questions down. Students can reflect on here what you want them to answer. But a really important question, students are always asking, why do I need to know this? Well, here, why do I need to know this? They put that information here. This page is on safety, so why do I need to know this? For the safety of myself, my classmates, and to take care of the equipment. So that is something here. And another thing is questions, because you as an educator will be looking through these. You want your students to ask questions. And if they don't want to raise their hand in class, they can write on here and then you can respond. But that is one page. Here we have another page for scientific investigation, because in my TEKS I have scientific investigation, A, B, C, or you know how those go. But we have facts, so this is another labeling you can make. On here the students can write, again, create pictures for what they believe they learned from the lesson. Oops, excuse me. Alright, so I know I said that a learning log is a notebook, a journal, a bunch of papers that a student will keep together to reflect. But I have here a different learning log. So I have my learning log wall, and I have created a learning log on construction paper with little flips. And on the top of them, I have questions. So what did I learn? What questions do I still have? A summary, what I felt was the most important. These are questions you're coming up with, your students are answering under here. And then there are pictures. You want your students to bring their creativity, their reflection of what they've learned on here. But this is a learning log wall, and it is not a journal. But I saw this and thought this was a really good idea. Students that have questions and you want them, sorry, and you're busy or something and you're still learning about that topic, you can send them to this learning log wall and be like, okay, what did so-and-so think was important? They can read that information and be able to reflect from other students. In your, I have another example of the learning log. I know I showed you pictures and words, but you can have a basic one, a learning log. What have I learned? What is confusing? And students can just write on here. And this could be in the learning log versus pictures. If you're not a picture person, you don't want your students to picture, you want them to write. So switching into teacher mode. So again, my name is Mrs. Rollins, and I will be teaching you about the Earth moon. So the Earth's moon goes through many phases, 8 major ones. We have the new moon, the full moon, and I go over those two because if you have a better understanding of those and where they are, you will remember the rest, or it's easier to remember the rest of them. So we'll go new moon, full moon, first and third quarter moon, and then all the in-betweens. So new moon and full moon is when the Earth, the sun, and the moon all align. On the new moon, it would be the Earth, the moon, and then the sun. So the part of the moon being hit directly by the sun is the backside that we are not seeing. So that here is the shadowed area, and that is the new moon. Now we do full moon. So the full moon would be the sun, the Earth, then the moon. Here we have the sun hitting the Earth, but it reflects off and hits the moon. So we are seeing that illuminated side. So when we are seeing the illuminated side of the moon, that is the full moon. And that's when you see the entire thing illuminated. The first quarter and the third quarter, those are also called half moons, and that's because they look like they're half illuminated. This is when they are aligned approximately 90 degrees from the sun and the Earth. So this is the sun, the Earth, and we would have the moon either on this side, which is the first quarter, or on this side, which is the third quarter. And again, it looks like half of the moon is lit up. Now we have the in-betweens. So if you could remember crescent, gibbous, waxing, and waning, and then we have a combination of those to create the in-betweens. So the word crescent just means that it's less than half illuminated. The word gibbous means that it is more than half illuminated. Waxing refers to the expanding of the illumination, and then waning means the shrinking or the decreasing of the illumination. So after the new moon, we have where the sunlight is increasing. Remember, because we're looking at the moon where it's completely shadowed. So when we start seeing less than half, but it's starting to become illuminated, we have the waxing crescent. After that, we have the first quarter, so then that looks like half the moon is illuminated. And then it goes into the waxing gibbous because now more than half is illuminated. And then we go to the full moon. Full moon, now it's completely illuminated. Now we go from the full moon and you see that the light is decreasing. So if you remember, decreasing light would be waning. So now we're moving into the waning gibbous. Gibbous means more than half, but now the light is decreasing. So we have the waxing gibbous. Now we move into the third quarter. Remember, that is the one that is 90 degrees, so we're almost all the way around. And that is just the half moon, third quarter. When we go from the third quarter, we are moving down now to the waning crescent. Light is decreasing even more, but we have that little slither of the crescent. Okay, now we're almost all the way around. We go back to the new moon. So now the moon is completely shadowed. And now I've taken you around the earth on the moon. Okay, so now let's get into our learning log. So in this learning log, we're doing Earth and space. And I'm having you create circles. Correct? Circles, and this is for the moon. So I am giving you 4 questions to answer. You may choose to add more circles if you have questions, if you found more facts, something was more confusing, or any of the questions that we've gone over in the past for other learning logs. If you feel that you need more detail, just create another circle. So in our first circle, we are going to answer, what did you find most interesting about this? I'm going to tell you mine was that crescent means less than half. I did not know that. Now, the most confusing are, of course, the in-between names. But like I said, if you remember that crescent means less than half, gibbous means more than half, and then you remember that waxing means getting more light, illuminating more, and that waning is decreasing light, light's going away, then you'll be able to remember that the full circle. And then here I'm going to have you put in some facts. And then how does this information help you? Remember last time, we're tying the information, what we learned last time about the Earth, the seasons, the tidal waves. How does that help you? Now, tying this into how the moon moves around the Earth. So I'm going to have you fill these out, and then when you're done, you're going to drop them in the bins. Do not forget your questions. If you have questions, I will answer them, and when you pick them up tomorrow, you'll have your questions answered.